Clay flagged this one to me. Secret Service renting a $30,000 Malibu pad, the New York Post reports, to protect Hunter Biden. So Hunter is living in I believe, a $20,000 a month rental in Malibu. The Secret Service is paying $30,000 for the Malibu for the very liberal, but one of the more beautiful places in the country. I speak the truth. It's a very lovely area. You know, houses near the beach, you're talking millions and millions to get on the beach, probably 10 million plus. Hunter's hanging out there, $20,000 a month rental. Secret Service, $30,000 a month rental. And even George Stephanopoulos felt the need to confront White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain about the situation here. Here's how that went.
Is the president confident Hunter Biden didn't break the law?
Of course the president's confident that his son didn't break the law. But most importantly, as I said, that's a matter that's going to be decided by the Justice Department, by the legal process. It's something that no one at the White House has involvement in.
The Washington Post also reported this week on deals that Hunter Biden had with a Chinese energy company, paid $4.8 million to entities controlled by Hunter and the president's brother. Is the president confident his family didn't cross any ethical lines?
George, the president is confident that his family did the right thing. But again, I want to just be really clear. These are actions by Hunter and his brother. They're private matters. They don't involve the president, and they certainly are something that no one at the White House is involved in.
Oh, confident, Clay. Notice not categorical denial, because they know.
Well, also notice what is already happening here. Ron Klain, by the way, is the default president of the United States. If you're wondering who is running the Biden White House, it is Ron Klain. He is the default president of the United States. So it's not a surprise that he would go on to try to block all of the media attention on Joe Biden, because I do think there's legitimate questions about whether Biden could handle these questions well, and or whether he might be opening himself up to some form of investigation by answering them as well. And I want to circle back to that in a moment. But, Buck, you'll note what happened there in the second answer. Already, they're trying to create distance between Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Joe Biden's brothers, even though Joe Biden is the, quote, big guy in these emails. And what I believe is a significant story, you want me to go full-on Nostradamus again here. And by the way, Elon Musk, Twitter, kind of nailed that one too. I'm on a run here of getting some predictions right. They should, if they are conducting a real investigation in Delaware into Hunter Biden's alleged improprieties, felonies, all of these different things, Joe Biden should be called as a witness there because he does have knowledge. We talk about commingled bank accounts. We talk about emails, meetings. Joe Biden should be quizzed himself about what he knew and when he knew it surrounding Hunter Biden's business dealings. Because I believe what happened here is when Donald Trump got elected in 2016, I think Joe Biden believed his political career was over. And as a result, he went ahead and said, okay, let's focus on making as much money as possible so my son is taken care of, so the Biden family is taken care of. Let's finally cash in on this 47 years that I've spent in government in a really big way. Now, Joe Biden's wealthy, but he's not rich. Wealthy, not rich, right? Like Obama has become rich, and I guess we can argue over what the definition of wealthy and rich, but to me, you're really rich if you never have to work again, right?
And,
so
and your kids and your grandkids, probably.
And all of them are taken care of, right? So wealthy is like, hey, you don't have to worry about taking care of your day-to-day expenses. You can live well. To me, rich is a different category there. And so he wanted to become rich. Already wealthy, wanted to become rich. And to me, he should be quizzed. He should be brought in front of this grand jury, and he should be quizzed about what he knew and when he knew it. And that is the question. I know we got people who work in the White House, right, in terms of the press. If you get the opportunity, this is the question that should be asked. Would Joe Biden comply with a subpoena to appear in front of the Hunter Biden grand jury? That is the question, because I think there's a good chance, Buck, that either he would try and avoid testifying, right, try to quash the subpoena by legal means, or he might show up, Buck, and have to go full Fifth Amendment to avoid incriminating himself and getting drawn into this investigation as well.
So that to me, that sounds like the analysis of what would happen here if we had a Justice Department that wasn't obviously corrupt and leaning toward, if not in the pocket of the Democrat Party at the top levels. Remember, we have an attorney general here in Merrick Garland, who is every bit the Democrat leftist that they promised us we wouldn't get if he was on the Supreme Court, right? I mean, he actually is a guy who delivers for the left. And if you have any questions about that, just remember the memo that was written to parents, or not to parents, but about parents at these school board meetings
terrorists,
where they sounded like they're terrorists, right? So we know that Merrick Garland, he'll play rough for the Democrats. Clay, I just don't see, and this obviously goes to our bet, Nashville Nostradamus, I just don't see a situation in which anybody who can actually make those decisions in the DOJ will do it, and they will, in whatever their external justification may be. Remember, a prosecutor can always just not bring charges. There's no elevated, but why didn't you? I mean, the press can ask questions, but they can say it's a confidential matter. They can just refuse to answer. So the system would have to be willing to put Biden in those circumstances. Do you really think that there's anybody who works for the Department of Justice, which every U.S. attorney, as everyone listening and knows, does? You think they would really have a subpoena for Joe Biden with this DOJ?
They should. That's the question that needs to be asked.
Yeah.
Because if they're conducting a legitimate investigation, then Joe Biden should be subpoenaed based on the evidence that we have all seen on Hunter Biden's laptop. And also, by the way, let me say this. This is also further importance of why Republicans taking back the House and taking back the Senate is so important. We talk about it for purposes of Fauci. Over the weekend, Buck, I read that. Did you read the Vanity Fair article? It's probably 20,000 words. It took me forever. Dealing into the why did immediately the idea of this being a lab leak get completely squashed, wasn't discussed in any way. It was a fantastic
the
article.
EcoHealth Alliance, all that stuff was true. All the right wing, what
All
you're
of it's
finding
true.
out right now, whether it's on the lab leak theory or the Hunter Biden laptop, is all the right-wing reporting from a year ago that this audience is familiar with, whether it was listening on this show or listening, all of the stuff that they have heard was true. And now the left is catching up with all this and pretending like we've just figured this stuff out. We've just learned about it. And it's true, obviously, of the early days of the Fauci suppression campaign against the lab leak theory. But back to Hunter Biden for a second. So you're saying what the legal peril is. There's also the issue of political peril that Hunter Biden, right? So it's one thing if they won't send Hunter to prison, which I just don't think they will do. I just don't see it. I don't
think
believe
they'll
it.
charge him. It'll take years to potentially get him to prison. And by the way, I got distracted
But
there.
if they charge him, then he'll take a plea deal. There's no way he's going to try to see that out and risk actual federal sentencing.
Probably would be likely, or he'll try to drag it out to his dad potentially giving him a pardon. But what I was saying about the importance of looking into Fauci, the House and the Senate being in control of Republicans, they would have their own Hunter Biden investigation. And that could be significant as well to help to continue to put pressure on this situation. But to your point, there's two different tacks here. There's the criminal investigation, which has its own peril, but the political on this becomes more and more significant.
Well, the House investigation is essentially a political investigation because they don't have the power to actually prosecute. So as long as the DOJ is in Biden's pocket, which I would argue it is, I don't see how this turns into anything other than exactly what you said, by the way. Tactics of delay, tactics of defer, have the grinding wheels of bureaucracy for Hunter Biden, have them be his friend, right? Make sure that they time this out so that, of course, eventually Joe Biden would pardon him if they could get away with that. But there is obviously a major political challenge here, and even the Democrats are seeing this.
I do think the impact on the president is quite perilous. It's a long tradition of relatives giving presidents, creating problems for presidents, and that is what we have seen with this story. Once we have findings, conclusions from the investigation going on by the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, I think we'll know more about just how serious this could be. But Democrats were very critical of President Trump and his family for appearances and actual conflicts of interest. And it's, I think, imperative that the same standard be applied to President Biden and his family.
Yeah, well, they're not going to apply any real standard to President Biden and his family is my contention. We'll see. I think they'll cover it up. But, Clay, I don't think this gets enough in terms of people being reminded of this. the countries that the Biden corruption family. Wow, it used to be the Clinton crime family. Is it now the Biden crime family? Have they taken the top spot?
Hunter Biden might be his own crime family by himself.
We'll have to come up with a cooler name for it. The Biden corruption enterprise. But here we have a situation where the two countries most directly implicated with all this Hunter Biden stuff. It's not Iceland and Botswana, right. Two countries that are relatively inconsequential from a U.S. foreign policy and strategy perspective. It's Ukraine, which we all understand what's going on here, all the Russia interplay and everything happening, and China. I mean, this guy was going out, taking handfuls of cash from two of the countries on the absolute forefront of U.S. national security and international relations interests. This is not minor stuff. They were writing in the Washington Post op-eds, and this is not an exaggeration, about foreign diplomats, Clay, buying food at the Trump hotel as a means of influencing Trump foreign policy. Like, you go in there, you get a cheeseburger, then you're like, sign the treaty. Doesn't work that way.
Yeah, and when we come back, the Washington Post, Bill Maher, others, remember, we're talking about not inconsequential sums of money. China gave him $4.8 million, Buck. They gave a drug addict who was incompetent $4.8 million. I don't know that it's possible to create more of a direct, hey, I'm selling access than Hunter Biden getting $4.8 million.
Yeah, but those paintings are really exceptional, Clay. He clearly has an eye.
That doesn't even count those finger paintings.
He is like the modern Monet, plus, lots of illegal drugs thrown in.